Fox News alert, the Migrant Caravan reportedly almost doubling in size as thousands of Central Americans push towards the U.S. border. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Sandra Smith.
And I'm Bill Hemmer on a Monday. Good morning. President Trump saying he will not allow those migrants to come in, calling on Mexico to block the caravan and warning that if needed, the U.S. military will seal the border. Former acting ICE Director Tom Homan last hour praising the president's.
A lot of this could have been prevented. We've said, I've said for over a year that if we didn't fix these loopholes, it would happen, and here it is. But when they get to our border, you have, you got Chief Padilla down Rio Grande Valley with 20,000 Border Patrol agents who are American patriots by the very fact what they do, and they won't step aside, and they won't step back. They'll defend this line.
Tom Homan from last hour here, his position on as we watch and wait for the next move. Griff Jenkins live along the border, McAllen, Texas today. Hey, Griff.
Hey there, Bill. We're here in McAllen. More than 1,500 arrests of illegal aliens in just this sector in the Rio Grande Valley. This is, of course, where President Trump will visit. Houston's a part of the Rio Grande Valley. Now, they have a little bit of a wall, 55 miles of a wall that helps them with that problem. But the officials here have all eyes on that caravan because it'll compound the problem of people showing up. We asked the chief here, Manuel Padilla, his thoughts on this caravan. Here's what he had to say.
We'll see what that caravan is made of. If it's people that are turning themselves in, they will likely report themselves or turn themselves in at a port of entry. If you have people that are crossing illegally between the ports of entry and are trying to avoid the Border Patrol, we will not see them in this area. We will actually see them where we do not have this combination of the resources together.
Stand by, Griff. Go. Now, what's really significant about that caravan is should it come to this port of entry, they'll have to be processed, Bill, and this is the big point. That is, if they are processed and brought here, the centers that would hold people are totally full. The illegals arrested this weekend, and that caravan, should they show up, they have nowhere to go. They'll get a summons to show up for court. Most likely, they won't come to that hearing. They'll disappear into the continental U.S., and that's why officials talk so much about changing these loophole laws. Bill?
Thank you, Griff. Griff Jenkins, McAllen, Texas. He's been reporting for about a week now. Griff, thank you for that.
And for more on this, let's bring in Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert, a Republican on the House Judiciary Committee. Thank you for coming on the program this morning, sir. What can you tell us
Great to be with you.
about what you're seeing and the way the president's responding? What are your thoughts this morning as this caravan makes its way to the border?
Yeah. Well, the president will be here in Houston for Ted Cruz today, and I'm honored to be here, too, be part of that. But the president made no bones about it, and actually, he can take his lead from the Democrats, a Democrat named Woodrow Wilson, not one of my favorite presidents, but in 1916, after Pancho Villa's gangs came across the border in New Mexico and killed a bunch of people, not only did he put 75,000 or so of a new thing called National Guard troops on the border, but he sent General Pershing into Mexico. Now, President Trump's not going to send people into Mexico, but he's made clear that this basically is an invasion and it needs to be stopped. And the Jessica Vaughn at Center for Immigration Studies had pointed out you got to do four things. You got to close the border, you got to stop bogus asylum claims, and basically have those claims for asylum only be allowed at our embassy or consulate in the home country where these people are coming from. And also, we need to remember that asylum claims are not legitimate if they're not made in the, if we're not the first country they come to after leaving their country. So Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, they can't make a legitimate asylum claim, and Jeff Sessions is not going to let that happen. But one other thing that Jessica Vaughn didn't mention that I think would be very important, we have got to have the DOJ investigate where the funding is coming from to send these thousands and thousands of people
Certainly
to the U.S. because you could use RICO to go after them.
Mike Pompeo took the lead over the weekend. He was in Mexico City. Here's what he said on screen, guys. This is his quote now. Number 2, we are concerned that these migrants may be victimized by human smugglers or others who would exploit them. We also are deeply concerned by the violence provoked by some members of the group, as well as the apparent political motivation of some organizers of the caravan. Is that that suggesting there are criminals in this group? And if so, how do we manage that?
Well, you cannot manage it. It will, all of these people trying to force their way in, it's called an invasion. And thank God we have a president that will stand up to an invasion like this, but under our Constitution, a governor can call out military troops to stop an invasion. But fortunately, Governor Abbott won't have to, because the president's going to take care of that. And I've heard people on TV, so-called experts, say, well, you can't use the military because posse comitatus. Look, that normally prevents the military from being used against its own citizens. It has nothing to do with using the military to stop an invasion from another country. So there's nothing unconstitutional or illegal about the president doing what Woodrow Wilson did, put tens of thousands of people on the border and make sure nobody forces their way in. And, you know, you were talking about coming through ports of entry. The president's got to close the border until this threat is over, because it is a threat. And we know from a former FBI director named Comey, perhaps you remember him, he talked about people sneaking in, trying to blend in with Hispanics when they were from the Middle East. And, of course, I had people make fun of me, but they didn't point out the fact I was quoting the FBI director. So we know this is a tactic. We know it's gone on. We know it continues to go on. And you can't deal with it other than to just stop the whole group and close the border.
They're gaining in numbers, and they're continuing to head towards the U.S. border. And Congressman, but I want to get this in here, because you're talking about asylum. The president addressed it in this tweet, saying full efforts are being made to stop the onslaught of illegal aliens from crossing our southern border. People have to apply for asylum in Mexico first, and if they fail to do that, the U.S. will turn them away. The courts are asking the U.S. to do things that are not doable. How do you respond?
That's right. Well, I think I have to respond by saying the president's exactly right. And when if you recall, he would declare this is an emergency. And in emergency situations, he has additional powers, but he doesn't even need those powers to stop an invasion coming across and just say, we're closing the border, Mexico, until you disperse all of these people and do not allow them to come to our border. So Mexico's going to help, and I'm sure the drug cartel are hoping to force this issue, but they're going to find out we have a very strong president, not a weak-kneed guy that's afraid of offending people, because he understands his job is to protecting the American people, and that's what you can expect President Trump to do. So the only way to deal with it is say we're closing the border.
One more question is, I know you favor the wall. I don't know what effect that would have on a caravan like this, but let's get that in a moment. Some of the side reporting we're getting is that there's some political unrest in Honduras that initiated the caravan. I don't know what information you have. Others suggest that they're doing a little bit of this for the TV cameras. They get in cars and they drive a little bit, and then when the cameras come out, they walk. I don't know how much is true and how much is not. What can you clarify, sir?
Well, there supposedly were some political factors in this getting started, but Bill, once it got started, it takes an inertia of its own, and there is money coming, and I'm sure there's some from the United States going to help this caravan along, but it's building of its own momentum, and it's going to take a very strong president, which we have, to stop it. And we've got to make clear to Mexico, they're not coming in. We're closing the border, even to you.
How do you then think?
You disperse
for those who support the caravan, how do they believe the images support their cause within our own country, 15 days from an election?
Well, I can't help but think that the Democrats, perhaps Soros, others may be funding this, thinking it's going to help them, but they're going to be surprised, because the president, his number one thing was, we're going to build a wall, we're going to stop illegal immigration, and he's going to have a chance to show that he actually means what he says,
so,
which indicates he's not a real politician.
Final question with just a short bit of time left. How does this issue play out for your party come midterm elections, 2 weeks away?
I think I think the Democrats are going to be shocked that it helps Republicans the same way they're going to be shocked that the circus they put on at the Kavanaugh hearings actually will help Republicans as well. So this is another one. It's designed, you meant it for evil Democrat leaders, but it's going to work out for the good of America and for the good of the Republican Party.
Congressman Louis Gohmert, thank you for your time this morning, sir.